Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up.
There was a demonstration in London that attracted 10,000 students and allies. This week there were actions at campuses around the country, and today there are marches in towns and cities around the country. But these are no isolated events, these are no isolated actions. This is the beginning of a revived student movement that is making it loud and clear that we will not put up for a marketised, privatised education system, and that we will keep on coming out here, and we will not shut up until... Okay, first up onto the stage, I'd like to introduce the Vice President of UCU Bath, who seems to be in the middle of a conversation with some of his fans at the moment. Dr. Carney! We're all okay on that? Yep. The first big mistake, and they knew it was a mistake that our elders and betters ever made, was letting us learn to read and write. Because it's been downhill ever since. We haven't known our place. We haven't known to do what we're told. We've started organising. We've started remembering. We've started to think about our place in this world, and we know it doesn't have to be this place. And every advance for education, every advance where people learned about their place in the world and what they can do about it, has been an attack, has been an advance against the state of affairs as we see it. It means we don't have to do what we're told because we understand what's going on. The first great advance was basically learning to read and write, which is still the most radical thing you can possibly do. You can pick up a book, nobody can stop you doing it, nobody can stop you reading it, nobody can stop you thinking about it, which is probably why Amazon want to suck books back out of Kindles if they're the wrong ones. Then we got secondary education. We became skilled. We were able to learn to do something beyond simply manual labour. We formed trade unions. Remember, the leading member, the leading organiser of any union is the secretary, the person with the power over words. And then the greatest advance, the big advance we're still fighting to hold on to, was when we opened up the universities to everybody. And we said anyone with the talent and the desire and the will and who wants to work at it, and yes, you have to work at it, can go to a university and learn something for its own sake. Whatever that might be. And you should always reject anything that says that something should be relevant or it should make you employable. The point of a university is to learn something because it is worth learning, it is worth studying, and that is why we are in universities. That is why we teach. That privilege is becoming a privilege again, only available to people with money or time, or usually both. It is something that is basic to the dignity of every human being, that they should be able to advance their intellect as far as it will go. We want free education, we want public education, we want control of the universities, we want them democratically run, we want them open to all, because we are men and women who are worth it. Thank you, Dr. Carney. Put your mister if you want. Okay, next up we have from the Green Party the parliamentary candidate at next year's election, Dominic Tristram. And he's brought another member of the demo along with him. Hello.
I was lucky enough
I'm not that old, but I was lucky enough to have my education paid for, my degree and later my postgraduate education. I took that more or less for granted, thinking that's the way things are going to carry on, because it's made so much sense to me that whatever your background and whatever your means, you can be educated. People should stop considering education as an investment in a career. They should consider it as an investment in themselves. Yeah. We all believe in a lifelong education, not just for 3 years, but for any time you want to be educated. It's part of furthering yourself, and it's part of improving society for everyone. The more educated we are, the more we can contribute. Now, I think any fees, or any tuition fees, anything, they're all barriers to entry. We should scrap the lot of them. You should not get into debt for educating yourself. And I don't care for graduate taxes or any other kind of tax put on graduates. It's your right to be educated. Your elders were educated. They kicked the ladder away once they had their degrees. It's time to fight for your right to be educated, to have the same privileges they did, and to demand a free education.
Okay, next up we have Will, who is a student at Bath Spa, who would like to talk about free education from his perspective. William, welcome to the bench. Hello! Just a few quick words. It's brilliant to see so many people here. This has been a joint organised demonstration by students from Bath Spa and Bath University, and it's not very often that both universities come together to do something like this, and we should really keep up the momentum. We should remember that we can take power back for ourselves instead of waiting for things to happen and other people to make our decisions for us. And remember how fundamentally important this is. They seem to have billions of pounds to waste on nuclear weapons and subsidise fossil fuel companies, etc., etc., etc. But you can't educate your own population. Keep up the momentum of the movement all around the country. This is happening in towns and cities everywhere. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Okay, next up we have Joe Raymond, who is a recent graduate and now member of staff at the University of Bath. Joe, welcome to the bench.
There's a button.
You would have known how to work that.
What?
If you'd studied engineering, you would have known how to work that.
Thanks. So I'm from Unison. I'm the Young Members Officer for Unison at the University of Bath. And this free education movement is part of a wider movement around a complete radical reimagination of what's going on in higher education. We're in a situation where education is seen as a commodity to be bought and sold. You can see that very easily when you see what is undeniably a movement in the right direction with postgraduate loans coming in. But you can see that they're only offering them to the under 30s. They're only offering them to people who they think are going to die before they can pay it back. Education is not a commodity that you can buy or sell. It's not something just for the individual. It's something that's good for all of society. Well, it's great to be here to see such a fantastic turnout from Bath's student community. And what's really good for me is that I'm able to not just stand up here and speak to you as a politician who can tell you that they understand where you're coming from, but I actually am where you're coming from, in the sense that I'm a student too, and I'm also facing the prospect of having to leave university with £50,000 worth of debt. And young people were betrayed. We were told that by the Liberal Democrats, by this government, they would abolish tuition fees. We had an MP here in Bath who campaigned against tuition fees, only at the first opportunity to vote to treble them. And it's an absolute outrage. And I think what's really important too, we've got to remember that it gets worse. That this is a system that doesn't work for anyone. It doesn't work for students, it doesn't work for universities, it doesn't work for the taxpayer, but above all, it doesn't work for us. It doesn't work students. We've got a real fight on our hands. We've got to keep the pressure up, and we've got to fight for an alternative, because there is another way. But we haven't just got to fight as students. We've got to fight as young people as well.
young people that are facing the prospect of being one of the first generations in recent history to be in the position where they're actually facing being worse off than their parents. We're facing a future with no NHS, with no welfare state, with no guarantee of a job after university when we're facing this £50,000 worth of debt. And the point is, we can't, as students, take another 5 years of this government. Young people can't take another 5 years of this government. No one can take another 5 years of this government, and we've got to hold them to account, and we've got to make sure that we get them out in May next year. Thank you very much.